Yo, just boxing. Let's have this duck talk, man. Let's have this conversation because I don't know about you, but it's still flying around my group chat. I'm having daily debates with my brothers, with my friends. I feel like I just got to bring this to the channel and let me tell you what I think here. Listen, everybody's saying, literally, listen, KEYSHAWN Davis is literally a meme right now. I go on my YouTube and my algorithm is just crazy. It's got all sorts of crazy pictures of KEYSHAWN Davis. Dot, 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 dot. That's all I'm hearing. That's all I'm seeing. Yeah. But let's remove the emotion from it, yeah, and look at this logically, yeah. Because for me, if we call KEYSHAWN Davis a duck, what do we say about Dev stepping away from the Rolly negotiation, turning down the fight with Rolly because he didn't agree with the terms? What do we call that? Because that's basically what KEYSHAWN done. He wasn't happy with the terms, so he stepped away from the fight. So what do we call Dev for stepping away from the Rolly fight because he didn't agree with the terms? What do we call that? Let me know in the comments, guys, man. What do we call Dev? Obviously, I'm mentioning Dev because he's the guy that people say KEYSHAWN ducked. So I'm just mentioning Dev. So Dev, what do we call Dev? Initially, not entertaining a rematch with Ryan Garcia because he wanted to go down the legal route. And then even when he stepped away from the legal route, he kind of revisited it and then stepped away again because he felt like he should be the A-side against Ryan Garcia. What do we call that? Is that a duck? Or is that business? What do we call it? Moving on again. Most recently, Dev vs Tank. Tank sent a contract. Confirmed by Dev. Al Heyman stamped contract for a fight with Tank Davis, a superstar of the sport. A previous face of the sport. Sent you a contract stamped by Al Heyman. You don't agree with the terms. Send a counter offer with improved terms for you. What do we call that? Because Tank said, listen, I've sent my offer, take it or leave it. Dev said, I leave it. So what do we call that? Is it a duck or is it business? Let me know. Let's remove the emotion, guys, man, and just use logic. Let's use logic. Because for me, actually, look, I've got some more examples here. All right, so we all saw that whole kind of rollout where Bill Haney was calling out Shakur, basically saying, listen, they got £100 million on the table, but the guys putting up the bread, they want that Dev Shakur fight. They don't want the KEYSHAWN fight. They're saying there's £100 million on the table. Dev's about to sign a deal, become the richest young person in the sport before 30. And that's all the stuff Bill was saying. We know it was Zuffa. We know who he's talking about. Cool. And Bill was saying basically, listen, Dev's agreed to fight at 144. Let's get it on. Let's fight. Like, there's a deal there to be had with Zuffa. There's £100 million contract for Dev to sign, but it kind of hinges on that fight being made. Now, Shakur signs for Zuffa. Yeah. Devin then signs, as people say, across the street with DAZN. Okay, so straight away it's like, okay, that's a bit, Shakur signed for Zuffa. I said, yo, like, let's make this fight. I'm over here. I've signed. Like, let's do it. You said 144. Let's go. Then Dev signs for DAZN. People would say, you went across the street. But you were screaming Zuffa. You were screaming £100 million deal over at Zuffa. Then the guy you wanted to fight, the guy that deal contingents on, signs for silver, and you sign across the street. It's a little bit. But then what makes it worse is, okay, we kind of look past it because he was mandated to fight KEYSHAWN. Cool. And that's, Shakur did say he don't want to step on KEYSHAWN's toes. So cool. We're thinking, cool, that fight will happen and then we'll get the Shakur Devin fight. But then when the KEYSHAWN Devin fight falls through, the Haneys do a 360 and say, you know what? Forget the 144. You want to fight, you got to come up to 147. So what is that? Is that business or is that a duck? Let me know in the comments, guys. And let's not forget, if we go all the way back here, let's not forget, because people give Dev a lot of credit. They always reference things about Dev when it comes to like, Dev took less money. They took 22% to fight Kambosos and whatnot. Well, if you take a look at the facts, Dev actually turned it down based on the terms of the deal. So was that a duck? Did he duck Kambosos? Because he turned down the fight. This is a fact. Dev turned down the fight. And then Loma accepted the fight. Accepted the terms to fight Kambosos. Yeah? Signed, sealed, everything. Loma's going to fight for Undisputed, his dream. Then the war happened in Ukraine. And Loma chose to stay and fight with his country. Okay? So then that opened the door again. So now Kambosos needs a fight. Dev spun the block. He said, you know what? Cool. Whatever you agreed with Loma, I agreed to it. Let's go. And took that fight. And by beating Kambosos became Undisputed. Cool. So did he duck initially? Or was it business? The terms weren't correct. Was it business? Let me know in the comments, guys. Listen, I hope the comments are full after this one, because everyone has so much to say. Even I had a lot to say. Listen, because my emotions were involved. Because I really wanted to see that fight. I wanted to see that fight. Maybe even more than I wanted to see I say I wanted to see the Shakur fight more, but I was more excited to see the fight with KEYSHAWN Davis and Devin Haney because of the styles, you know what I mean? So, for me, in general, what we're seeing here is a mix between business and ego. Ego. I think ego is the key word in this whole negotiation process between KEYSHAWN and Dev, because not taking 3 million initially, before, do you know what I mean? For me, KEYSHAWN not taking the 3 million, for me, was bad business, because for me, you overvalued yourself, or you overvalued the fight. I think he thought the fight is bigger than him getting a 3 million cut. I don't feel like KEYSHAWN Davis felt like he personally is a 3 million, 4 million, 5 million pound fighter. I feel like he feels like as big as this fight is, he should be getting that amount. I think if KEYSHAWN fights a Norman, if KEYSHAWN fights a Frank Martin, I don't think he's going to say like, listen, I need 5 million or nothing. I don't think he values himself like that much. But I feel like he thinks, listen, this is the biggest fight in boxing right now. I should be getting more. Also, I think they used, the reference of Norman, although he was a belt holder, Norman getting the 3.5 million. I think they saw that as well and thought, or KEYSHAWN saw that and thought, do you know what I mean? I could get more than this. Because although, listen, the belts don't hold as much weight in boxing right now. So although Norman had the belt, KEYSHAWN is without doubt a bigger name than Norman. Like, let's have that right. But anyway, like I said, that was bad business for me, in my opinion, yeah? That was bad business. But I think it's not so much to do with the price, with the payment. I don't think the payment is the biggest issue when it comes to KEYSHAWN making this fight. I feel like it's the split that bothers KEYSHAWN, and that's ego. The fact that he's seeing the split is he's getting 25% and Haney's getting 75%. I think he feels like that's way too much. I think he feels like the split should kind of show what both fighters are like. Do you know? I feel like he knows Haney's the A side, but in his head, he's thinking, listen, he ain't worth that much more than me. Like, he shouldn't get that much more than of the split than me. So I feel like he even came out and said, do you know what I mean? He'll take a 60-40 split. If you want to fight, 60-40 split. Obviously 60 to Haney, 40 to KEYSHAWN. So I don't think it's the number. I don't think it's the price. Because I feel like even if another bid was made, if someone said, listen, I got 7 million for this fight, and Haney said, all right, cool, I'll agree to the 60-40, let's go. KEYSHAWN would take it. And that's a 60-40 split of less money, of 7 million. I think KEYSHAWN would take it. Do you know what I mean? And that's a 60-40 split that's still less than 3 million that he turned down in the first place. But I think it's the split. I think it's that's ego. Do you know what I mean? Him just hearing I'm like, cool, 60-40 for him, his ego, yeah, is allowing him to say yes. The 25-75, his ego is not letting him say yes. His ego. I don't think it's as much business or as much, do you know what I mean, the money. I think it's more ego with KEYSHAWN and some other fighters. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, man. Also, Radio Raheem mentioned there's a clause in KEYSHAWN's contract with Top Rank. And that clause is, if KEYSHAWN beats Devin and becomes champion, his contract automatically gets extended. Now, KEYSHAWN's in his last 2 fights with Top Rank. So more than likely he's getting, you know, he's having talks with other promotional teams. He's having talks with other with people like Zuffa and whatnot. He's having these talks. You know what I mean? Numbers are getting floated out there. So he knows losing to Dev means those numbers will now go down a little bit. And he also knows if he wins against Dev, those numbers go away completely because Top Rank get to extend their contract with KEYSHAWN. So by winning and by losing, it affects the new deal and it affects the deal he's currently in with Top Rank. So I say that to say this, for him to risk getting a new deal elsewhere and for him to risk getting his current deal extended, yeah, for him to risk that, like, he's thinking it's got to be worth it. Or you know what? I'm speaking as if I'm KEYSHAWN. Or you know what? I'll just walk away. I'll walk away from the fight, yeah, because I know in 1 or 2, he's got like 2 fights left on his deal. So in 2 fights, I can either renegotiate my current deal with Top Rank, or I could go elsewhere and shop for a better deal. Do you know what I mean? And if he, like, KEYSHAWN walking away from the Devin Haney fight, he's got people like Brian Norman and Frank Martin, that's both at Top Rank, that he can go and fight. Do you know what I mean? And he's also aware that Devin Haney, every big fight Devin Haney can have right now, they're all tied up. Rowley, Ryan, Teo, Conor Ben, they're all tied up. They're all tied up. So yeah, man, I think that came into play as well. That definitely came into play as well. But personally, for me, I'm just pissed. I'm just pissed that we don't get to see this fight. Because this was a genuine 55-45 fight. And I'm leaning that 55, I'm leaning it to Haney due to the experience and due to the mentality. The mentality that he's got, obviously the experience of big fights, but also the mentality that Haney has, where Haney doesn't care how he looks within a fight. Haney has that mentality where I'm going to do whatever I need to do to win. I don't care if they boo me because I'm running. Yeah, like he did at 144. I don't care if they boo me because I'm holding, like he did against Norman. Listen, he's got that mentality where it's do or die. All or nothing. He's not trying to be a crowd pleaser, do you know what I mean? And that is a winning mentality. And I think mentality might be where KEYSHAWN, and it's those 2 things that Haney's got are the same 2 things that are probably the only weaknesses in KEYSHAWN's game. which is his experience at the highest level and his mentality. Remember, we're talking about someone that's been sectioned, someone that's been had mental health battles, someone that's not too long ago missed weight and then ended up beating up a fighter in the change rooms. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, man, I feel like I'm just upset like everyone else that we didn't see the fight. But calling him a duck, I feel like if you call KEYSHAWN a duck, we then got to take a look at other fighters that have done similar or the same thing. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments, man. Love.